from one faith to another ever be legitimate?
Yeah. I personally feel like there's the idea of like forceful conversion, which, I mean, it's forbidden in our faith, forceful conversion. There's no like force as it pertains to faith. But I do respect, I mean, I don't personally go to try to convert people, and I think sometimes it removes some of the sincerity, and especially in interfaith circles and in interfaith conversations. But I respect like people who do want to take that route. I respect that as a way of thinking and as a way of approaching things. I think sometimes in our like westernized thinking, we're kind of we're a little sensitive to people like coming to try to convert us, but I mean, I think people are free to do it. It's not my preferred route of approaching matters, but I think it's still acceptable to me. But I do think in interfaith conversations, it removes some of that sincerity.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I don't have, well, so in theory, I don't have a problem with somebody saying, you know, this isn't working for me, I'm going to go somewhere else. And if somebody gives them a word from their faith that's compelling, I think we have to honor the converts. We have to start there. There are people who have converted, so we have to start there and hear their stories as to why they converted. Either way, and in the history of Christianity, Islam, it's gone both ways. You've seen people convert from Islam to Christianity, Christianity to Islam. As long as it's not forceful, as long as it's not sort of ultimatum evangelism, right. Do this or burn in hell kind of stuff. I think that's problematic and forceful. We have to unpack what forceful and compulsion. There's no compulsion in religion. It's one of the verses of the Quran. And so we have to unpack what are the ways that we can push somebody towards conversion that's not authentic and real. One of the early stories of Islam was one of the early leaders forced mass conversion of Christians in Egypt. The following leader came by and said that there's nothing Islamic about this, and invited all the Christians who had been forced to convert to go back to their own faith. I can't find you a Christian equivalent of that story. I can't. Shamefully, I can't. So I think we have to respect the convert. It starts there. They've had a reason, for whatever reason, to leave one faith and join another, and honor that for what it is. And then for those of us who hold loyalties and commitments that are real and true, you share your faith and you hope that it's a faith that's compelling and authentic and real. And yes, you bring some to the faith, but that's not, for me, should not be the modus operandi, the reason why. I mean, I do it simply because I am compelled by the story of Jesus Christ. And so I live accordingly. Now that may bring some people to convert to Christianity, fine, but I don't want no compulsion, I don't want no force, I don't see, and those who choose not to be as compelled by Jesus as I am, I don't see any defect in that. That's the other piece. To be able to move beyond that, to say, oh well, they're kind of got it. And some of the early Christians, like John of Damascus, kind of felt like, oh well, Muslims kind of have it. Yeah, we want to steer clear of that as well.
So the DSF is not going to offer any course in forceful conversion?
No time soon.
No, we're not. No, I'm not going to say anytime soon, no, we're not.
It's nice to see you doing it.
So, Jesus identified several categories of persons who are vulnerable in society, kind of consistently. Widows, orphans, poor, people in prison. And as I've been doing ministry in my Disciples of Christ perspective, I've become really aware that what Jesus taught and what Christians do with Jesus' teachings can be very different. So I'm interested in two things. Any sources you can direct me to on what the prophet, peace be upon him, or any significant scholar in Islam has written about people in prison, and any reflections you have on how cultural and cultural stigmas and reactions are played out in tension with that teaching, or in harmony with that teaching, which would be much better.
You know, so as to the specific sources, I can get you a lot of them as it pertains. There's a reentry program in Chicago that's led by Muslims, and there's that one. That's the main one that I know about from a Muslim perspective. So I can kind of get you in contact with them. In general, in the community, the Muslim community, there's a lot of empathy, and like people lean more towards feeling empathetic and towards people who are imprisoned. And I think that probably stems largely from a large number of Black Muslims being incarcerated, and then them losing some of their rights in prison. And I know one Muslim brother here, and he works with what's his program called? He works with a professor at Pomona, at Cal Poly Pomona, and they have a training program where they move volunteers through the system to sort of understand. You might know it. I forgot the name of it. I think Prison Education Foundation. Or,
One for Greece.
he works with them, so he, I can get you his name too if you're interested, but he, you know, his main issue is that, you know, there's a national law that allows for prayer in prisons, but then the local, the main issue is that really the people who work in the prison don't allow Muslims to pray. So there are issues in which it doesn't funnel down, and when there's like a changeover of authority, you know, the same issues occur. So, but largely, you know, I think it's seen as one of those vulnerable populations in which people, I think people think, for the most part, they empathize a lot with the Black community and understanding that so many people are imprisoned wrongfully and unjustly. That's really the main kind of vibe in the community. I think it was Prop 57, is it? The one about removing like misdemeanors or 47.
Reclassifying.
Oh, yeah. So like, you know, you'll see that all the Muslims were voting. I think it was for it, like in favor of the prisoners. Yeah. And all the Muslims were sort of voting in favor of removing the on the ballot, like removing the, I don't know all the terminology because I don't work in the field, but removing on the ballot box, you know, whether or not you have a history of being imprisoned, and largely because, you know, a lot of Muslims are from the African American community, so you know, it resonates with them and they have a lot of the same issues.
Thank you.
In terms of earlier sources, the reason it's difficult to find is because really the prison jail system is not a Muslim invention. The way civilization was carried out in the arid desert,
Thank you.
a prison wasn't necessarily the best way to correct and restore. So you're not going to find a whole lot. You will find some general jurisprudential rulings on sort of treating ethically and humanely today. I will say one that's kind of, here's another person that's under our noses, but I would encourage you to look at the writings of Malcolm X and his writings on prison. I mean, he had a prison experience himself and was profoundly shaped by his Muslim beliefs, and so I can't pinpoint anything particularly, but my guess is that if you comb through his writings and speeches, you'll find some resources. The way he used his faith to speak about justice and those regarding the imprisonment.
Thank you. That one is right under my nose.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's good.
And then I think more historically, I always think about where in the Quran there's similar the story of Joseph, and so that's more of a like theological understanding of, and so it talks about, you know, how he was in prison and what happened to him and everything in the prison, and So, yeah, it's interesting to note that, you know, the only story in the whole Quran related to prison is about Joseph, prophet, or we believe prophet Joseph, in which he was like wrongfully incarcerated, which is, I just thought of it now, but, which is interesting, yeah.
It's a shared story.
Yeah.
I meant that there's also a documentary about a Puerto Rican Muslim chaplain working in prisons. The documentary is called Muslim Cool. Is that it? Have you seen it?
It's actually not really about him working in prisons.
He does.
Remember it?
He does do some work in prisons.
Oh, okay.
And the
I
end
haven't
of
seen it
the
in a long time.
okay, yeah. In the end of it, he gets something happens that they cancel the program. But he
Yeah.
was doing some work in the prisons, so he
Oh.
wasn't like working with the prisons, but he was like coming in
Yeah.
and providing some education to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think it was like Muslim Cool or
Muslim
something.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a prison piece in that. You gotta
Yeah.
watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching it, saying, oh, and you know, and here's the thing, here's one of those places where I talked about the sources, it's so much relation to him because we're both Puerto Ricans from the US,
Yeah,
so we had a lot of
yeah.
things in common.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. Any other questions, jokes?
Something lighter.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
for
you.
Yes.
Today.
Well, if there isn't any more, then I hand it off to the boss here.
Oh, it's a wonderful conversation. It's not just for religious dialogue, but also your personal stories in your life. It was so wonderful to understand how the people are living together here. Thank you for your joining us, and I would like to ask you to join us more. So I think please share your wisdom and your insight with us together, and then you can walk with her and with us go together. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your joining.